timeless, iconic, classic. These adjectives definitely describe my next guest here. We've all come to love her beauty and presence when she was crowned the most beautiful lady of our land 31 years ago. And now I am given this massive opportunity to have an actual sit-down interview with her as we reminisce her pageant journey. So, nahuhulaan niyo na ba kung sino tong tinutukoy ko? So, without further ado, here she is. Please say hello to Binibining Pilipinas Universe 1993, Melinda Joanna Gallardo, or better known as Miss Dindi Gallardo.
Wow. Hi. Hi, Adam. Hello to the viewers, and thanks so much for the that was such an introduction. Thanks.
You know what? I should be the one to thank you more for allowing me to interview you, for giving me the opportunity to get to know you on a deeper level on this kind of setup. Guys, kung alam nyo lang, I was just shooting for the stars when I DM her for a proposal to be interviewed on my YouTube channel. And lo and behold, sumagot siya right away.
Because I have to say, you were really one of the few. I just felt like you took the time to really like properly invite me for a sit-down interview, and I couldn't refuse. It was genuine. It was very thoughtful that you really took the time to message me.
Yes, and
Here we are today.
yes, and I'm so thankful. I'm up until now, even as I'm talking to you right now, I still couldn't really believe my luck that I'm really talking to the one and only Miss Dindi Gallardo.
And I haven't, thank you, but I haven't really, I haven't done interviews. You know, it's been 31 years.
Yes.
And lately I'd been thinking about Binibining Pilipinas because 31 years ago, right? So they're approaching the 60th year. So it's been on my mind. I've been invited to, an event. And then that's when I saw your message. I'm like, you know what? I think I just had this feeling that you would be fun to share my experience.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, I would really love to express my million thanks to you, especially now at the perfect timing of this interview because you just celebrated your birthday a few days ago and belated or
Thank
hindi
you.
pa pala, advanced crowning anniversary, advanced 31st
Thank you.
crowning anniversary. You were crowned Binibining Pilipinas Universe March
21.
1993.
And March 14 is my birth date, right? So I was actually in the Diamond Hotel as a candidate. I spent my birthday in the hotel.
Oh, talaga? Wow.
Yes. Yeah, because we were there, I think, 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks.
So how do you feel, ma'am, na, as I seek you out for an interview here, I don't know, siyempre you've been away from the limelight for quite a time. Pero how do you feel that a lot of pageant fans would still equate your name to someone so classic and timeless?
Really?
Yes.
Wow. It's nice to hear that. I'm flattered to know there are people that think that because, there was a time when, all you hear is that they should have sent someone else to the pageant. So, I would welcome, of course, all comments and, okay lang with me. But, yeah, I'm flattered that people still think that. I think I'm classic and timeless. So, it's nice to know that there are people out there that feel the same way.
As we look back on your journey, bakit naman hindi naman kami mabibighaning mga pageant fans? Even after your pageant stint was over, you crossed over to showbiz as well until such time you were doing movies and even teleseries, even before the pandemic, right? So, how have you been po since that time? Kasi now that as I dig more information about you, you seem to be doing or calling the shots behind the scenes this time around.
Yeah, so from the pageant days, it was just natural for a Binibining winner to be offered a contract for movies. Viva, Regal, Star Cinema. So you can't really say no. So in the 90s, it was like that. If you had noticed that a lot of the winners would do like 1 or 2 or 3 pictures, right? And because that was the situation, I couldn't say no. And my love for film also brought me there, like more behind the scenes. I've always loved film, being behind the camera. But then as an actress, I thought, hey, this is a fun experience. So from there, I was in the limelight until 2001. And then I left to explore the world. And then I ended up living in New York. I came back here about 10 years ago, was invited to do to guest in a teleserie, to do a cameo indie film. So for me, it's like, why not? It's something that will, it's always been a part of me. I will not turn everything down. So I just thought it was just nice to do a little serie. But I really enjoy working behind the camera. I'm directing these days. So I work on documentaries and
Kaya
stories.
pala.
And yeah.
Kasi I stumble on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Nakikita ko ngayon mga... Ikaw, so you were the one
Yeah,
who
but that was
the
more
one
of a
directing
hobby. Yeah.
your edits there.
Yeah, I was editing, doing sound, doing everything. But that was during the pandemic. Nung wala ka pang... When you had all the time in the world. So I had this little camera. I had one vintage lens and making kwento while I'm cooking.
Yeah,
So
oo nga eh.
yeah, it was just something to pass the time.
So do you find it more enjoyable than acting in front of the camera?
Acting in front of the camera will always be enjoyable if you enjoy the role and the story. So I'm not closing my doors to that. Same with TV guestings, but then it's just that my lifestyle is so different. I really prefer early nights. So talagang parang now, I don't really see myself doing teleseries. There have been
Yeah,
offers.
because of the grind.
But I don't know if that's the lifestyle I want. A film is different because it's only that way for how many days. And
So what sort of films and documents would you like to do in the near future?
I'm actually writing just for fun on the side, a screenplay a film I'd always wanted to, I'd want to direct someday.
So what is the topic all about?
It's about memory. Yeah.
On deep memory.
Well, yeah, it's a little drama, but
Loss of memory. Good
yeah,
memories.
yeah, yes. It's like, who are we when that's all gone? Because you want to die with dignity, but then, once all of that's gone, like, who are we? Because we take care of ourselves, our reputation and everything, but then, what if someday that's just not there? Like, so somewhere along those lines.
As we are having this kind of conversation, we're just into a few minutes of our conversation here. Wow, you struck me as someone who's very deep and philosophical. Promise.
Yeah, contrary to what people think.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. How do you feel na, alam mo yun, even after 31 years, people still have a high regard for you when they look back. Oh, that's Dindi. Like, she's one of the most beautiful faces that has graced Binibining Pilipinas.
Well, of course, that's a compliment. It's flattering.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, people will also comment on, the night of Binibining, and that there's always going to be good and bad. But I take both with I can't, how do I say, you're entitled to your own opinion. Everyone.
For us, you'll always be considered talaga as one of those classic beauties. Especially kung talagang pinapanood ko, if you're a true blue pageant fan, papanoorin yung full performance mo ng Binibining Pilipinas, talagang wow. Fresh ang ka lang doon, parang umaura-aura ka lang, and you eventually won. So, has it always been your dream to become a beauty queen po?
No. I'm the reluctant beauty queen.
Oh.
Like in my vlog about my pageant experience, I always said that I'd rather be a Bond girl than a beauty queen. So I was actually dared to join Binibining by a friend. Yes, on a dare. And then at the same time, I had an aunt that told me every year, you should join. So I gave in.
How old were you then?
I think I was 20 or 21.
So I assume
21.
you were still a fresh graduate then.
Yes. Yeah, I was 21. So I didn't think I would win. You know, it's different. People dare you and you're like, okay, I'll go. I'll do it. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, okay, you're in.
Oh.
And then now I'm like, I'm in trouble.
Trouble.
Trouble because now I'm in. You know, it's like sometimes, you know, it's like usap-usapan lang. It's like, yeah, I dare you to join.
Oh.
And then I'm my tita saying, yeah, you should join. I'm like, okay, I'll join. And next thing you know, I'm there.
Oh, so it was
And 3 weeks later, I'm like on the way to Miss Universe.
Oh,
Yeah.
ganun ka whirlwind.
Whirlwind.
So, before Binibining Pilipinas, I assume you didn't have any exposure to
Modeling.
any modeling.
Just modeling.
Or
I was modeling
camera
in the
work.
States.
Oh.
Modeling. Camera work was more photography.
Uh-huh.
Like I was the model behind that. I modeled for Esprit. I was modeling in the US before that. But I had moved back here. And then I was scouted for a close-up commercial, some Santa Cruz and by Manila hotel. But I was never really scouted for Binibining. So it was my tita, and then I had met Golly Gorospe, who supplied my gown that night, my evening gown.
So joining Binibining Pilipinas was some sort of a baptism of fire for you.
Yeah, yes. Yes.
If you know
it
what I
was.
mean. Kasi yung batch nyo talaga ang ingay. Even when I was still a kid, I think I was only like 10 years old then. And back then, I would already peruse the pages of tabloids and magazines. And talaga nakikita ko talaga yung hype, yung ingay, yung spectacle, yung fanfare about you. And Rufa.
Yes,
Rufa
of
Gutierrez
course, because
talaga.
she was in show business already, and I'm sure fans knew who she was. And normally when there's someone like really famous already and big, of course, you know, you want to root for that. And then someone comes in and it's like, you know, at that time, Miss World was third place. Universe was first, International. That's how they saw it. Versus like we all have titles today. Or is it that way today? Is it even? Like, you're going to World, you're going to...
No, nowadays, hiwa-hiwalay na yung mga franchises.
Yeah.
The universe belongs to a certain pageant organization now. The Miss World franchise, Philippines is also in a different pageant organization. And I think it's only Binibining Pilipinas International that is only left with Binibining Pilipinas right now.
But I think back in the day, there's all this hula baloo that, wow, you know, she's off to the Miss Universe. You know, she fumbled during her Q&A. It should have been this, should have been that. But
let's go back to that moment po.
Okay.
Nung, at the time that you were competing for Binibining Pilipinas, bata pa lang ako noon, pero pa nagpapakwento ako doon. But when I would make a research about it, or even ask my fellow pageant media practitioner friends, they would tell me na ganun daw ka-intense yung competition yun noong 1993. Beginning at the submission of application forms pa lang.
Yeah.
So, talagang is it true na talagang lahat kayo talaga ganun ka-intensive at ka-cutthroat yung competition even during the deadline of submission of application forms?
Well, for the deadline of submission of application forms, you had to physically be there. So I think when they first opened up that, you know,
The screening.
Yeah, the screening, there was a cutoff time. And at that time, I think Rufa was filming. And of course, I mean, if you were the organizers, you wanted the pageant to be more interesting. And obviously, it would be more interesting if there was a big celebrity joining, right? Looking back in hindsight. But they pushed the deadline further. So whether it was to accommodate her or Binibining just decided that we would just push it to midnight, I don't know. But that's what happened. And people were just not happy. Of course, she's this beautiful, gorgeous woman, bigger than life. And she arrives and you have the girls from coming all the way from Bicol, from
All over the
all
country.
over the country. And they had been there the night before, and some were just there with their families, like waiting outside. They'd been there 5 a.m, and all of a sudden, this, you find out that I'm not gonna win. So, no,
Not
not talking about me. I'm just talking about,
That the
in
competition would
general,
not no longer be fair
yeah.
because
It's like, but then it's fair because if they say that we're extending the deadline, whether she makes it there at like 11:59,
opo.
then, it's all fair. Fair play, right?
As a pageant newbie, then how were
Yeah.
you taking it all in?
I'm observant kasi. So, actually, that night, and if I feel that there's something that's just off, sometimes I'm going to speak my mind. And, well, most of the time. But, no naman. But I'm just saying that I just felt like the girls were just, some were leaving, they were quitting because of that. So I just felt like, okay, I'm going to ask what's going on. Because if the deadline was at 5, how come they haven't closed it and said, okay, you can all go home now. We're done. It was like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
Push hanggang
Yeah,
mid.
and people were like,
What
what's
time did
going
Rufa
on?
come in?
Right before, maybe like 1 minute before the
Oh.
deadline. Maybe
midnight
after, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, I could just imagine, the girls being tired and, some were just leaving. So they were walking out. So I asked someone, I said, what's happening? What's the deadline? Because people are leaving and I couldn't understand why. But in a way, I just had this idea that someone was being given special treatment, apparently. So they're like, no, we extended the deadline until this time. So what was that? So I said, no, they're extending the deadline. So you want to stay, you stay. You want to leave, you leave.
Pero you know what? The whole time that the pageant was played up, it was a rivalry. Parang they were pitting you against Rufa.
Yeah.
Looking back, how do you feel about it? Do you think it made the whole pageant more exciting? Did Rufa keep you on your toes the whole time?
I think, of course, like looking back, that would make any pageant more exciting, right? It's just like with film. It's like they make up stories and, it becomes more interesting. People get curious. So that's just normal. But your question, did she keep me on my toes?
Yes.
See, I wasn't there my mindset was different. I told you I was a reluctant beauty queen. Of course, at some point you want to win, but I wasn't the beauty contestant that was like, I have to win this. I have to, it was just, I just want to do my best.
Pero what's so interesting about this whole case is that you both ended up as roommates.
Yes, we ended up as roommates.
So for the whole 3-week duration, how was it?
It was awkward at first because, people were already pitting us against each other. And I don't know. I mean, we really got along. Like, if you really know her, she's funny. She's like really warm. She's hilarious.
Yes.
We had the best
She has a
times.
personality.
I have a lot of like photos that I kept. Like people would just never think that that's how we were as roommates. Yeah.
Kasi, as you think about it too, lalo feeling ko parang kayo pinaglalapit ng tadhana. Kasi, your candidate number 38, she's candidate 39,
Yeah.
tapos roommates pa kayo. So,
Yeah, but they did it by height.
Oo. Ganun ang
So,
binibini eh.
yeah.
Pinagtatabi-tabi kayo according to
Yes.
your height.
So she's like, I think, a quarter of an inch taller than me.
Oo.
Yeah, 38, 39.
So, when you were competing, talagang even though you're a pageant newbie up against a celebrity like Rufa Gutierrez, talagang you were still very unshaken with your goal of winning the top prize.
Yeah.
Or did you already, or big deal na ba nung time na sa inyo? Kasi nga there were 3 big titles at stake, diba? Universe World title. Were you very specific with the title that you
No,
wanted?
you know, unshaken. I mean, I was nervous. I think anyone would be, right? On stage or there. Of course I was nervous. But I just feel like, you know, my father, in the beginning, they were not for me joining the pageant. But once I decided, I got the full support of my family. And they raised me a certain way to know that I am unique, you know, to like just believe in what you have, you know, be your best. And I had to show up for me. And, you know, people will say, you didn't deserve that. Sure, you won long gown, this and that, but you fumbled during your Q&A. So it should be this, it should be that. But for me, it's like whatever is meant for you will not pass you by. I've always believed in that. So
The crown was meant for you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
back then, siyempre pageant newbie ka. So, I assume wala kang pageant training talaga when it comes to catwalk, Q&A.
So
So,
my catwalk was modeling. So I
Oh.
already had that. I was modeling.
Back then ba, was there a difference between the catwalk and how you walk for
Yes, there is
beauty
a
pageants?
difference, but then no difference in walking down and then just seeing a bunch of people.
Mhm.
So that one I was very comfortable with, as you had seen my walk, right? In the red dress, in the gown. But, you know, of course you get nervous.
Yes.
When someone interviews you, that's a different story. You know, in modeling, you don't walk down the runway and someone says, stop. What are you wearing? I mean,
Yeah.
on the street, yes. But when you're doing your thing on the runway, that's not done. And normally I converse with people and I listen, and then you ask me a question and I'm like, okay, let me think about that. But in the pageant, everything is timed. So while I was thinking about my question, you take like 2 seconds and there's a tiny opening and it's like, oh my God, she's,
Oh. That's what happened to you
I think so.
during the finals
I think
night.
so. I mean, they can say all they want. And it's like, I was in shock. I was in shock that I just thought that I didn't expect the crowd to be really unruly. I mean, people were just throwing cuss words. I was in shock. Like, I didn't expect that.
Pero, set aside that,
Yeah.
you still won the crown looking
Yes.
back. And we try to analyze your performance. Kasi, you know, I do vlogging then. And sometimes, you know, we see winners contrary to our expectations. And people would usually justify it. Ako, over time, na-realize ko na rin. And the real judging, I think, happens behind the scenes. Kasi even though, yun nga, you fumbled your Q&A, pero
Yeah.
they still gave you the crown. So probably it wasn't that particular aspect or factor that made you win. They saw probably something else in you. So my
Probably.
next question is, at what point, I don't know if you had felt it earlier, at what point did you realize that you were, during the competition, that you really had a shot in winning the crown despite being pitted against a famous celebrity?
Okay, so remember I told you that I didn't expect to like, you know, when someone dared me, I didn't expect that I would be chosen, right?
Yes.
During the screening. But once I'm there, in any competition or in any, like even today, like I have to think, so let's say I'm a director, right? And you're the captain of the ship. So you have to think already that, you know, things are going to go well. You have to, you're the captain of that ship. So you have to set the tone. The moment I got in, I already had to have the winning mindset. Whether or not I fumbled in the Q&A, I'm not going to let that get to me for the rest of the night. You know, like I said, like I also believe in what is meant for you won't pass you by. I still say that up until this very day. So, and I knew I deserved the crown. I really did. It's like, what is like, to fumble in one Q&A, really? Boba ka na ba? You know, I mean, I could say that sometimes it hurts to see that. It hurts because I'm sad that ganyan kaliit yung not for me, but it's like, wow, you can really judge someone by just that one incident. But I don't owe them an explanation. I don't owe anyone an explanation. My job was to just get to the next pageant. And now, of course, show up for myself, but do it for everybody, the country. You know, and it was very hard because to get on a plane and you felt like you didn't have the backing of your country, countrymen, drama ba? Like, I just felt like I left. Can you imagine leaving and people telling you it should have been someone else or someone would be better? Some still think that up until this day. And frankly, like looking back, I'm like, that was 31 years ago. I'm quite flattered. People actually think back and up until this day, it should have been this, it should have been that, whatever. But
Kaya pala, when I as I check out your YouTube channel, tapos I stumbled upon that particular video where it was, I feel like, sort of a catharsis moment for you as you try to analyze what happened throughout your career in its entirety. May sinabi ka doon that struck me that you were in a state of war as you showed our flag upside down.
Yeah,
Red yung
right.
colors sa taas. Sabi ko,
yeah, I'm just poetic.
yeah, poetically, sabi ko, wow, ang deep naman niya. May sinabi ka dun eh. I just forgot that particular line that made me question. Was she questioning herself, her existence, as to make her
Yes, of
say
course.
that? Yeah. Kasi it's a
Mine,
it's a
everybody
symbolic
else's.
representation, eh, red over the blue color
Yeah.
of our flag. So that means a state
Yeah.
of war. Diba?
Red field on top. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that symbolize now that
Yeah, that I was just leaving and I didn't feel like the support of the majority. So emotionally, you're like, wow, this is hard, you know. But again, luckily, I had like the support of my family.
Yes.
Mrs. Araneta, I love her.
What was she
Here.
telling
People
you?
will say all these things, but I felt like she was my biggest cheerleader.
Mhm.
She was so supportive. Recently, I attended an event, and one of the people from that organization had been there for so long. We were just reminiscing, right? And she's like, "Do you remember?" I told her when I left for Binibining, I had, I think, I don't know if it was 6 or 12 large luggages, and I had the best gowns. Okay, so back in the day, they used to say they should have more of the local gowns. I think I had 2 local gowns, but the rest was like Bob Mackie, all these designer gowns, right? And I remember arriving in Mexico City, and I called, and I said, I don't have underwear.
Huh?
I didn't. They forgot to
Pack you?
Yes, because well, sometimes you bring your personal, and then they give you like, well, of course I had like all the nice corsets, but
Yes.
then, and I'm like, wow, I really have. So, Mrs. Araneta was in New York at the time, and we meet in like a day and a half or 2 days. I
Sent
received
you.
this box. I mean, huge. She sent me the nicest undergarments. And they were like $200 underwear. And
Wow.
yeah. And it's like, and I said, why did you have to spend this much?
What
And
did she
she's
tell
like,
you?
you're a queen. That's how you should feel. And she took care of me. She really did. You know?
So napaka
I'll never forget. Yeah, never forget that.
She was very motherly to all her
Yeah,
wives.
and that I forgot about, the bashers, the everything. She would always tell me, "You are unique." She was there, and then my family, and that's all that mattered to me. I just had
I
to
could
do my
only
part.
imagine you being bashed, the short preparation, the short time of preparation that you had to do before leaving for Mexico. How difficult, how were you able to rise above that challenge?
Well, with people like that
Yeah.
kind of support, that's real from people that I trust. There's nothing like it, right?
So-
It's like even in my personal life, like today, if I were going through something, and you have the backing of your family or the people that you care about in your innermost circle. That's all that matters, really. How many do you need? 200,000, 1
Yeah.
million, versus two that really believe in you.
So when you were finally there in Mexico, what was your mindset? Siyempre, you had to leave everything behind muna to focus on your
Yeah.
to focus on your task.
My
ahead.
mindset was to really, one, do my best, and really be myself, which is sometimes just like, how do you become authentically you, but at the same time you're there, you're supposed to win a pageant, and you have to be somewhat not you. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there are women that are trained to act this way, answer this way, be this way. So how do you take all that
Yeah.
and still be you?
Yeah.
Because people will know that. People will know that, it's so contrived. You can smell that a mile away. So, and just have fun. Have fun. I mean, for me, it was like, this is an experience of a lifetime. In fact, Miss Universe wasn't as bad as the Binibining. That once I got on that plane, it was actually a nice respite to just be away from it all and then meet like so many people, have that experience, and it was so much easier being there than the Binibining experience.
So I feel you were just so glad that you were
Yes.
able to represent to our country.
Yes, I had to really just say, okay, I'm representing the Philippines. I'm going to give it my all. And that was my all. And if people weren't happy that I didn't bring home the crown, sorry. Tough.
So was it your first time to visit Mexico?
Mexico City.
Yeah.
I'd been to Guadalajara before and other parts, but
So
not
in a
Mexico
way, you
City.
knew what you were getting into in terms of in terms of how people would treat you, in terms of the places that you.
Not
you
really.
Were,
I mean,
you were going to.
I had always loved traveling, like growing up. So I've had that exposure to like meeting already different people from different cultures. And so staying curious is so important, So
So when you were there in Mexico, how was the vibe like? Did you
Wow.
feel like you were a favorite? Were you getting along with everyone else? Did you feel homesick? How were you during the first few days of the competition?